Now, like I've been talking about all day, we have Mr. Vincent Crowley on the phone. Vincent, how are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day today and hanging out with us, man.
Oh, no problem.
Now, we've got some exciting shit to talk about. You've come out of the underground and you're bringing a massive debut album for your new band, Vincent Crowley Band, album titled Beyond Acheron. That's due out June 10th on Odium Records in Europe and Hellhammer Records in the US. Dude, the music is fucking wonderful, man. Great job on this album.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we were trying to, expand. Acheron can only go so far, and once you journey past the style and the known, sound, fans tend to not dig that and stuff. So we wanted to, start something fresh, something that we could expand on. And this album definitely does that.
Absolutely. And the album title itself is a bit of a double entendre in the way that it's kind of beyond the band Acheron and beyond the River of Woe. And, when you get into the Greek mythology of everything. And I really dug the album title. It's simple to the point, but it also opens the mind a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this whole new album's concept is about death, and symbolically, it is kind of like the end of the past and, a rebirth to a point. And it goes from the intros to the cover art to the, everything's linked. So it's not per se a concept album where every song is like part of one story, but it's all tied in with, a death element.
Yeah, absolutely. And was it kind of refreshing and revigorating to do something outside of just the satanic norm that Acheron had become? Like you get to kind of journey into different dark aspects and different dark themes.
Yeah, I mean, after 30 years of doing that, and gradually we tried different stuff in the band, and fans either accepted it or they expected the same thing. And if I can't expand as a writer or an artist, you just get stagnant. And I just felt like I came to the point that I need to do something else, something that was still in a dark elements and had a dark vibe to it, but not specifically satanic or anti-religious, to that point.
I mean, it still has those overtones in there, but, so one of the songs that I'm really digging on right now is the song, My Eternal Val. It brings this, like, by definition, gothic imagery of just the worst fucking, like, brutal wedding ever. And, like, just as a listener and as a fan, that first time I listened to that song, and it brought up so much dark imagery in my head. And I was like, oh, this is refreshing and fucking awesome, man.
Pretty well. I think with a lot of the songs, I think the difference of the songwriting is, there's definitely, like you mentioned, there's going to be dark elements because it's me writing the stuff, but
right.
it's more like almost like writing a script for a movie, because we talked about this. We wanted every song to be like, it could become a video story mini movie. That was the main goal of this band. We didn't want to kind of do any type of this is what I believe, which I did for so many years. This is just like sit back, enjoy the story, fucking get yourself into a different mode, and hopefully the different songs will kind of take the listener to a another place.
I think it will, because personally, a first listen through the album, it did that for me as a fan. And I think you've done a wonderful job. It's also very interesting, and I kind of want to go through the writing process with you just a little bit. Because, I mean, your voice, it's that classic Vincent Crowley sound. And, you've also brought back members from Acheron. Tim is with you again. Art Taylor. Yeah,
Yes.
Art Taylor's back with you, and Blood Coven drummer Ryan Arter is with you as well. But it has kind of that classic Acheron sound, but it's, I don't want to say downtoned or anything. It's grooving. Like, it sounds like
Yeah,
it was fun to write and record, is what I'm saying.
yeah. Well, I mean, some of the songs Art and I actually were working on at the ending of Acheron, because when we did Cult of Hasis, it was supposed to be the last album, and then we just started to do lots of shows. We did festivals and shit like that, and we were just gonna like, okay, let's enjoy this part of the career. Let's just play shows and not worry about recording. Well, we had worked on some songs with some of the other guys that were in the band at the time, and we even went to demo it, and there was like the tapes got erased and stuff. So I'm like, okay, is that a premonition of something bad to happen?
Right.
So so we kind of sat on it, and that then when I put the band to rest at the end of 2018, Art and I were still kind of working on stuff, and we tried to get some recordings done. We had issues finding people to work with, and we'd be recording on home stuff, and the process was there. So some of those songs were already written, but we actually had different types of drums to them, and it was more aggressive. And when we decided to do this, we were like, you know what, we need to go back to square one. All our influences, from the early metal to even Black Sabbath to rock stuff, and but then the Bathories, the Celtic Frost, the all the stuff in our book of influences bring out. There's nothing limited in this band now. We're just not trying to be, this is not about speed, as you can tell on the album. There's faster parts, but they're not like anything like, blast beats and stuff like that, crazy stuff. So we're trying to capture that old feel, like almost like, the heaviness of like the Sabbath and Celtic Frost, but the, some musicianship of like King Diamond, and, and a little bit more experimentation on vocals, where it's not all, the deeper vocals. I go into the higher, old school thrash for black metal type vocals too on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes it a lot wider for us to, kind of write some just good songs.
Yeah, and you had mentioned the reworking of the drums in the songs, and that was the first thing I noticed, because I'm being an old school death metal head. It's all about double bass and blast beats, constantly, 24/7. But it's also nice as a metalhead to have something to just jam to. Like, this is a good work album, or a good workout album. But I jam it at work, and it's like, sweet. I don't feel all like anxiety pressure to get through my fucking day real fucking quick. And like, this is some good grooving fucking metal, dude, and it's really well done.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, well, it's funny because our drummer Ryan, he is a beast on the drums, and he was in a band locally called Church, and their bass player Brock, Art and I did a Vincent Crowley show in Texas where we played basically all of Rites of the Black Mass, because I didn't want to do any more Acheron shows, but the promoter really wanted us to have a show with that album, so we decided just to kind of do a little thing for him. And Brock was like, hey, I think my drummer could help you out. So we tried him out, and it's fucking amazing. But Ryan's like super fast. He like does crazy double bass, blast beats and stuff. So actually we demoed several of the songs prior to going to the studio at another studio, and drums were crazy and they sounded like, but it just wasn't the style we wanted. So we kind of got back in the rehearsal place, and we're like, come on, we need to kind of come to a new plateau of what we need to do. And Ryan came up, did the solid old school kind of just good drumming, and I think it just worked a lot better with the stuff we're doing than just kind of like, throwing super fast double bass under everything and, blast beats. That just wasn't for this album.
No, I think it would have tarnished the album. But it's also difficult to bring drummers like that down a notch. Like, okay, can we slow it down? Because I have a lot of drummer friends, and they're like, dude, the slower stuff is actually harder for me to play these days.
Right. I mean, it's true, because you have to. It takes a lot more feel to fill up those empty spots in the song. And, when you're blazing at, 100 miles an hour, it's kind of, it's more of a workout than a,
Yeah, it's a mental workout at that point too. Like, all right, bring it down. Keep
right.
the pace.
Absolutely.
Now, you said that you demoed out a bunch of stuff, and you're doing kind of a split release here. It's on Odium Records in Europe, but Hellhammer Records is doing the US based stuff. When you demoed it, how was label shopping for you? I mean, did you kind of pick up on a lot of offers? Was it kind of a grind? How was the label shopping?
It was actually terrible because, I come from the old school where I used to send letters and stuff, and I never, I did Acheron for 30 years, so we never really had a problem with like labels contacting us about getting signed. So now I had to go back to, okay, I'm back to square one. I have to be the one aggressively trying to find somebody, and now it's all online stuff, and you get the typical send your stuff to this, and I was like, oh man. So I just started to kind of deal with people I knew and contacts, and trying to get some information about who might be good to work with. A friend of mine, Ludo, from France, who did the intros actually on the album, he knew Shadow from Odium and put us in contact. And when I talked to Shadow, we had long discussions, and at first we were thinking about more of a bigger label. We were thinking, let's go for a Century Media or something like that. But I realized that it's better to be on a label that will actually push you and not just put you in a pile with 100 other bands, and that actually likes your stuff. And he sold me, and we signed with them. And as for Hellhammer, one of my best friends has actually started the label just to put this out.
Oh wow.
And he has put 150% into promoting. Him and Shadow have been like kind of working together, trying to help each other, since they got different territories, so they're not kind of stepping on each other's feet.
Yeah.
So they're helping each other out, and it's been, the response has been great, and the album hasn't even come out yet. So I'm pretty happy where we're at right now. And actually, we just added a guitarist named Eric Stewart to the band, which is like Art's perfect partner in crime.
Awesome.
And we recorded 2 songs for bonus tracks for the US release. So everything's really going good, and I'm looking forward to everything.
Well, it seems like the 2 labels working together is a great thing, because they've partnered up with some awesome PR companies, Imperative PR out of the UK and Grand Sounds PR. I also noticed I was getting emails about your album from them. The PR companies are what push, everything to the media, so that way we can get it to the fans. And Imperative PR are one of my favorite companies to work with. They are on top of it. They're wonderful fucking people. So big shout out to them, because they're ones that put this whole interview together for us. But with a strong PR stance behind it, this album should go smashingly.
Yeah, that's one thing Odium said, in the beginning. They're like, we don't want to sign a bunch of bands. We want to kind of get a few that we really believe in and just kind of push it. It was, the PR right now we're getting is just from Europe, and there's talk about, the US label doing another PR for the US. So it hopefully it just catches on, and, we've just got some full page ads in like Decibel magazine and stuff like that, and getting some interviews coming up. So it's kind of surprising. It's been the most busy I've been in a while.
Getting your workout back in, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know what? This makes me happy, because leading up to this interview, I was doing some research, and you did an interview, I think it was like 7 years ago, with the Corpse Paint show, I believe. And you were talking, you almost sounded frustrated with the mainstream during that interview. And you're like, I'm just going underground again. Fuck it. I'm going back to the way it used to be. And it would almost be disappointing to see you on like Century Media or a Metal Blade label. And I love those labels, no trash talking there, but you know, you seem like you wanted to go back to the old school days and just go fucking underground and go big, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel more comfortable there. I mean, all a bigger label does is take a bigger chunk of the, you know, the pie, you know, and they get their hands into everything. You know, doing territory. I even worked out a territory deal with a Brazilian label called Black Seal to do a limited Brazilian release in Portuguese, you know, and you know, the layout and stuff, because it's like when you're doing these territory deals, you know, that label is going to put 100% into their area. And instead of like, you know, trying to kind of just get little tidbits outside of their area, which is going to cost more postage for fans and more, you know, the money, whole situation. I just think all around, it's like a better business deal to do stuff like that than, you know, deal with like a Century Media where they can get the stuff around, but it's, I don't know.
They're dealing with it more globally than, and working with other distribution companies than letting an actual territorial company take care of it and do it the way that it should be done for the people that they know accept it.
Yeah. It's another thing too, is I noticed with Odium and Hellhammer, they're putting out ads and in big magazines and doing stuff. And they are, you know, beginning in underground labels where, you know, you have a major label that can throw money around like anything, and then you see like a little ad for, you know, a big band, and you're like going, I see, they're just a part of, you know, the food chain, you know. And so it's all good right now. I'm very happy where everything's going. Working with everybody's been fucking great, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now.
Righteous, dude. Well, it's working great. And, you know, something else that played into this and being such a massive release in my eyes is Sonic Lounge Studios, where you guys recorded. Joe Veers, I believe his name is.
Yes.
Mixed and mastered the album, and it sounds phenomenal, dude. I mean, if you're going to compare it to The Rites of the Black Mass, yeah, it's going to sound great. But,
you're right.
But they did a really good job at capturing that underground feel without making you guys sound like shit.
Well, Joe is an old school metalhead, and you know, Art had worked with him before back in the day, you know, and when we went in, it's like, you know, I've been in studios before where you start to play something and the guy's looking at you like, what the fuck are they playing?
Right.
And he got what we were doing, and he was a big part of the whole sound. He you know, he pretty much helped produce that whole album. We gave him kind of like the ideas we wanted and the kind of the levels and the whole feel of the album. And when he did the rough mix, we just sat there and like, holy shit, this guy just fucking totally did exactly what we said.
It's not even mastered yet, and I'm ready to send it.
Yeah. So, no, Joe will definitely be the person we go to for future recordings. I think he gives us a distinctive sound. He does a great job, and he's great to work with. And I have nothing but praises for his stuff.
Yeah, me as well, because the album, it's perfect, dude. I wouldn't want it mastered any other fucking way. It like I said, it's got that great old school sound, but you know, all the levels are great. You know, I don't have to crank shit up any higher. I don't have to fuck with any EQs. It just plays fucking fantastic.
Yeah, especially when you have like, we have parts with a lot of, guitar melodies and harmonies, and we have a little bit of keyboards in select spots. And I know when we did that Acheron album, Those Who Have Risen, that was a fucking nightmare to mix. And, it was like so refreshing that someone actually got what we needed to do. And it wasn't like, you're kind of like, okay, yeah. That album, a lot of people dug, but, I thought, levels on the keys were too high and stuff like that. And I think it's almost like this album is like everything I did in the past that I kind of wished didn't get done got fixed.
Oh, right on.
So
you got a reprieve.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Right on. Now, something else that's spectacular about this album is the artwork that Timo Wers did. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly at all, but
yeah.
The artwork looks fantastic, dude. I mean, just it's just eerie. It looks great. Plus I don't want to say caricature that he did of the band, but the like eerie redo of your guys' faces and bodies to go with the booklet. It fucking works so well together and looks great on the merch.
Yeah, he had done almost like 99% of the Acheron album covers from like 2000 on. And when we were, thinking about somebody, we were talking about, because I wanted to have something that almost looked like a movie cover. This whole album is kind of like, I wanted kind of the horror movie element is very, important on this. So that's why the cover is pretty simplistic. When we had some people going, I don't know about that cover, people might think it's cheesy, it's just basic, and I'm like, well, first off, it's kind of symbolic to Acheron and, actually La Morte and then in the back where I was coming out of the river of Acheron, it's like I said, the whole album is very symbolic if you really pick at it and investigate it. So I think Timo did a great job on that, and it's pretty cool too because each label did their own little layouts, interpretation. Neat. So you won't have the exact same look on every release. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I noticed that Hellhammer brought you back into Sonic Lounge to do 2 bonus tracks for the album that's only going to be on the US release, correct?
Yes.
So that's also kind of a bonus, but something that I really want to talk about here is the Odium Records Bandcamp, odiumrecords.bandcamp.com/album/Beyond Acheron for all the listeners. Go check it out. The pre-order shit is amazing, but you guys have this box. The wooden box, limited to 66 copies for pre-order, comes with the digipack, the t-shirt, the patch, button, sticker, and in a fine crafted wooden box. And it's only €60, which I don't know what that breaks down to American, but this package deal is fucking badass. But the artwork on the shirts and everything just looks fantastic, man. Odium really put together a great pre-order package for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints about Odium. When they kind of, when Shadow approached me about doing a box, I didn't kind of understand when he said a wooden box. I'm thinking it's not going to be kind of expensive to ship, but he's like, oh, it looked really great. And when I saw the actual end result, I was like, wow, this is like amazing. It's probably going to be one of my favorite pieces of, I've ever released. It's definitely a very cool collector thing and has a lot of cool items. And like you said, for the price, it's really good.
Yeah. It's the price is great. You can't beat it. And I think it's going to sell out and people are going to be really bummed that they didn't get on top of it because, like I said, it's limited to 66 copies. So
yeah, I mean, the one thing about each of these labels, which, people should really understand is, they are smaller labels. They are not, major labels that have tons of money, and they are sinking a lot of money into this, endeavor. And I mean, realistically, it's kind of like an investment for future stuff. So that's why it's very important, that, fans actually go out and buy the actual product, because it's not just, about getting in our pockets. It's about, them recouping their money and be able to do future stuff and keeping their businesses alive. That's why it's like, it's great to, get the download and stuff like that. But if you really want to support, the band and the labels, especially underground labels, go out and buy the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Spotify is great, but I mainly use it for like research purposes. And then I'll go out, because I can't use Spotify when I do my internet radio show, that's illegal. So I have to obtain the music legally. So that way copyright and we pay licensing. So that way, the money goes back to the bands when we play a track. And, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that fans don't realize. So it is really important that these pre-orders go out, that you're buying from, at least the Bandcamp or, from the band's website or from the label website. You're right, because this is what's going to keep the train fucking going, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you have bands like, you know, a mainstream band like a Slipknot or something that's, you know, yeah, their sales probably aren't as good as they were back when they started, but they're still making enough and then playing big shows and festivals, which, you know, the money train keeps going. You know, with the underground, it's all about the fans keeping stuff together. You know, it's like, I mean, to this day, you know, if I see, you know, believe me, if Venom pops up with something, or, you know, Trypticon or something, you know, I'm buying that, you know, physical copy, you know, and it's just a matter. That to me now is pretty much the underground. I mean, the whole old school of, you know, the mail and stuff, because it's like, you know, we can just hit a button on the computer and talk to somebody, so it's not very underground anymore. But I think the underground now is more people supporting those who are doing music that's not mainstream.
Yeah, no, you're completely right, because I mean, we're doing it right now. Press a button on the computer and here we are. We're having an interview, and that's great. And it's funny because I was a death metal kid in the 90s, you know, and so I came from the tape trading days, and I lived in a small town that didn't have a blockbuster music, and even the music stores that we did have didn't carry a whole lot of extreme metal. So it was if you got an album that you didn't really like, you learned to fucking like it. But now, and I always wished back in those days, I just wish there was an easier way to get metal. And now I sit here and I scroll through Facebook and I pass a million underground bands, and it's all the same shit. And, you know, nothing against those bands or their music. It's just we're blind scrolling at this point, and it's not
funny
supporting.
I remember back in the day when you would get in a big chain record store, it was like, oh wow, we got our stuff in there finally. You know, we'll be in there. You know, and that, you know, the last couple Acheron albums, you know, seen them a couple times at Best Buy and stuff. But you know what? That had absolutely no effect on sales, because all the sales mostly come from online or the small, you know, independent, you know, stores. So, you know, back in the day when, you know, you go to the mall and you see, you know, Rights of the Black Mass, it was like, wow, you know, right next to, you know, fucking goddamn AC/DC. You know, it's weird. So it's definitely kind of a whole different, you know, world today. But I definitely think that there's definitely people that still have the same mentality musically. And even some of these younger kids, you know, not all of them are a bunch of, you know, dumb fuck downloading, you know,
cyber idiots,
complain about the world, about everything. You know, they're fucking metalheads, and they, you know, they want to be a part of something, you know, really a strong movement, which, you know, the underground movement isn't for pussies, and it's just the way it is.
That's very true, and I agree with you. That's the way it was supposed to be. I was always torn because I wanted everybody to like my music, but at the same time, I got into underground extreme metal because it was for me. It wasn't for everybody, and I was always like teetering on this fence of, do I want everybody to like it and it go mainstream, or do I just kind of want to hoard it to myself?
Yeah, I mean, you still want that element, you know. If I have an element that you can play to your parents and they go, oh, that's a great album, play it in the car, I'm not doing my job, you know.
I'm not doing my job. Yeah, fucking A right, bro. That's fucking cool. So, you know, with that being said, back in the day, and this still stands true, I know that we just went through the pandemic and all that bullshit, and we're finally starting to open back up, but touring was a huge thing, and that's how you promoted the fuck out of your album. That's how you got a lot of your personal sales, was standing at the merch table and talking to the fans. And I know that you kind of burned out on touring with Acheron, and as to be expected, because people don't realize that a lot of bands actually lose a lot of money touring. You know, it's expensive to go out on tour, and you kind of went with, we're going to do festivals. And
still there? You're cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I guess we're talking about Acheron. The fucking black cloud comes over.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, I hear you now.
All right, wonderful. But what I was saying was, you know, a lot of bands lose a lot of money touring, but it's also necessary to promote the album. And you were kind of over the touring thing. You were doing more specialized festivals. Do you have any plans to play shows with the Vincent Crowley Band? And are you interested in maybe trying touring the States again and dipping your toe back into that?
Well, you know, even Acheron never really toured. We did like some mini stuff, and it was always like long weekend type stuff, or, you know, maybe a week at the most of doing. We never went on a full blown tour in the whole career. You know, we've discussed this before. The ongoing joke is like, we'll do a full blown tour when, you know, when King Diamond fucking says, "Hey, we have an opening slot."
One of those you can't pass up. Here's the apple, take a bite.
Yeah. You know, doing some mini stuff and, you know, weekend stuff. And, you know, we're more about playing like, you know, a festival or just going out of the country for, you know, a few shows and stuff like that. I'm not really interested in, you know, going on a bus with like a bunch of guys that you like at first, and then a month later you want to kill each other, you know.
And there goes the band.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, I get you, and I totally understand. You know, a good friend, Matty Way from from Unique Leader, he talks about it too. He's like, man, I loved touring, but I hated being in debt when I got home, and it was just, you know, it was dragging. You're always on the road. You never get to check out cool shit. You load in, you do your show, you load out, have some beers, and next thing you know, you're on to a different city. So I also kind of understand that. But so you would be interested in playing some festivals though with Vincent Crowley Band?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're definitely going to play shows, and hopefully a decent amount of them when, you know, this whole thing's over with. If it ever gets over with, seems like they have a new thing of bullshit every fucking day, but things need to definitely open up, and things need to get back to the way they were.
Absolutely. So. 2019, I went to more shows than I could count, and I haven't been to a show since of January last year, and I'm finally going to a show tomorrow. Like, yeah, I'm so excited. I'm like a teenager again. Like, I got my ticket and everything.
Yeah, well, it's this year. I mean, this whole thing kind of like actually was a benefit, at least for me, because the songwriting, the studio time. You know, I have another band called Infidel Reich with, you know, a couple of guys, and used to be in Asphyx, and, you know, we just did a new album that'll be out at the end of the year, and, you know, it's like I did a lot of recording this year and music making, so we definitely made use of the free time we had. So, you know, I'll take it as a plus.
Yeah, I think we all use the time to do a little regrouping. I did the same thing with my show, and yeah, no, it was kind of a needed break. But before we started the interview, we were talking off air, and I'm hoping this kind of brings a resurgence, that people are so bored with last year that they miss supporting the music that they love, and it's going to kind of be a resurgence. Europe and South America, they don't have a problem with packing venues. But for some reason, America does. And it kind of fucking pisses me off, to be honest, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude? I watched Origin play for 10 people one night. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? You know?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's funny because it's, you know, you play your hometown. I mean, last Acheron show we played, we actually did a free show. We had a decent turnout, but it was a free show too, you know? But, you know, you go to a usual show, unless it's like a major act, you know, people tend to kind of stay at home and not journey out. But, you know, we'll play another country, or, you know, even a festival somewhere, and then they come out of the woodwork and they're, you know, packed houses and stuff. And it's just the States is just very strange. But then again, you know, we worship, not we, I should say they worship, you know, the hip hop culture, and metal's kind of like the weird stepchild.
Yeah, we're the bastard cousin.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, I fucking hear you, dude. Well, I'm hoping that this release is stellar for you guys. I'm loving the album. I can't say enough praise about it. It's good to have you back. You know, we missed you. The fans have missed you, my friend.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Speaking of you liking my Eternal Val, that will be the next single lyric video, which will be out probably the time the album comes out. So that's something to look forward to.
Awesome. I know that you have one for La Muerte, and now who's doing the video work for all that?
I'm going to get killed because I could not pronounce his name. It's a gentleman from India.
Okay.
But his link I have on my, my band page and stuff, and I'll be like, giving info on that. It does great work, and yeah, he did a fabulous job. So looking forward to see what he creates for this new song for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, I know that you're a busy guy, and I won't take up all your time today, but I do want to end with this. Your work was a catalyst for me becoming a metalhead when I was a teenager back in the tape trading days, which Brett in our chat room's like, bring back the tape trading days. And I'm with him on that. But I remember I traded with a friend. I had a copy of a Malevolent Creation album that I had just played, and I didn't even need the cassette anymore to hear it. So we traded, and he gave me like a bootleg Max L 90-minute, and it came with Baphomet's the Dead Shall Inherit on one side, and Acheron, the Rite of the Black Mass album on the other. And that cassette was a catalyst for what I am today. And I just want to say thank you, because your work means a lot to me. It got me through a lot of fucking bullshit, teenage bullshit, and yeah, dude, I love your music, and it's really good to have you back, man.
Well, it's great to hear some positivity coming out of the music. So it's awesome to hear. Cool.
Well, hey, please hit me up and come back on the show when you have the Infidel Right album ready to promote. And dude, wish you the best of luck on this release. It's out on Odium Records and Hellhammer Records June 10th.
Appreciate all the support, and best of luck to you and your show.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll talk soon.
Later.